Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSIDFS Fantasy NASCAR Picks. I'm host Megaro31. First thing you need to do, unless you live in the state of Arizona or someplace else that doesn't participate in this, is remember to turn your clocks ahead because it is daylight savings time tomorrow. So make sure you do that so you're not late and late getting your lines in and the race and everything. Xfinity race today was quite tilting. I now remember why I don't recommend and play John Hunter Nemechek, let alone give him the prime tag. I thought he turned a corner when he won the previous week, and this week ends up crashing and taking a lot of good cars out with him. So broke even on that one. I want to do something, and if I could just have one moment of your time. And I debated whether to do this or not, and I just uh, I've been in the industry since early draft street days. I think I won my first $1,000 contest in a soccer game. It was a Germany World Cup slate back in 2012. I've been around for a long time, and I wouldn't be around today if it wasn't for help for like certain people like early on, helping out just like I'm trying to do here and helping out people with like NASCAR is there were a couple of like really good people out there that were doing free content to help you learn when this like first came out as we were kind of figuring it out together. And one of the guys out there that's always, I think, been really sincere and really class act in the industry has been Stevie PFL. And he does NASCAR, yes, but that's not where this is going. This is something completely separate. Um, he's been doing the morning grind, and I used to love listening to the radio. My kids in the back of the car at the school bus, they enjoyed listening to. Had no idea what he was talking about, but just liked his voice and that they were talking about sports and stuff. So he and started releasing a YouTube video about a year ago, and they've been just short of 1,000 subscribers. His birthday's coming up on March 11th, so they'll do a show like Sunday into Monday for that. So I think it'd be a nice birthday present for him. And I'm not talking about the regular Roto Grinder channel. And don't get anything wrong. Like or here, like I have no association with rotors grinders or anything like this. I just want to do something nice for somebody in the industry that's been very helpful. I've just noticed that he's kind of like plateaued and they just haven't hit that 1,000 mark. So if you'd be so kind just to go to that show and to subscribe to it, and I hope Oh, let's try to get up to 1,100. It's his birthday's on the 11th. That'd be cool. Just 100 past 1,000. So, we usually have like 13, 14, 1,500 people watch this. So if less than 10% of you could just do me a favor and go do that, it'd be very special to me to help out somebody that like helped me out and just kind of like giving back as a thank you. I have no idea like what happened or why we're doing this, but I just thought it'd be something nice to do. So and I'll make it easy for you. I'll just put the link for the show in the bio or the description of the video and or in the comments, and then just go there if you so nice. And I have cut my promises, and I have put a coupon on for anytime this video has it over 1,000. So just go back to last week's video and you'll have the coupon for this week if you want to get in. And going forward, I won't go do it on the video hits for this week, just since I'm asking you to do something nice for me, I'll do something nice for you. If we get to if that show does get to the 11,000, just remember it's the Roto Grinders. It's not the Roto Grinders one, it's the morning grind. And again, check the comments. The link will be there. If they get to 1,100 subscribers, then I will put the next 2 weeks for free out there. So and I won't even make you use a coupon for this one. I will just I'll make it free on the website. So just go sign up on FSIDFS, and the NASCAR, the pricing will be free at checkout. So, okay, let's move on to this slate. Thanks for listening. Phoenix. What a interesting track and an interesting new package that they're trying. And I just don't know why they've like monkeyed around with these like different packages for these like short flat tracks and different intermediate tracks and stuff. And I think it was back in like 15 or 16, they finally had a really good one. And then they started messing around. And if you remember, they used to, like, before we got this like new car and before COVID, well, even during COVID a little bit too, they used to have like two different like horsepower engines that they ran and different downforce and stuff, and just so many goofy things. I know they want to make it more competitive. I know they don't want it to be single file, you'll follow the leader, nobody can pass. But the practice, they gave him a full 50 minutes and they went out there in this package, and you had people like spinning out and like, and some of them it was good because they were like testing it to the max, and they found out quickly where the max was and what, the package couldn't handle with like the new downforce on it. And they're also using a softer tire too, so it's not, you know, you can't go out there and just run the whole race on like, a couple. You're going to have to use that as part of your strategy on a softer tire. So, but some of the people felt that it like was horrible and that they really couldn't figure it out, and that nobody could pass, and that they took a bad situation and made it worse. So we'll see what happens there. And then I think some figured it out in qualifying, and then others didn't. So we've talked about on the show a couple times before that Chevy has gone out, or Chevy hasn't done anything. Chevy has the same bodies, but Ford and Toyota changed their body type. And this might be one of the tracks where it starts to manifest itself, and we'll see if it's the new designs on the Fords and on the Toyotas are something that's going to be helpful, and it looks like it might be. And you really want like long run speed here, because again, it's so hard to pass the leader. Like Phoenix is something where they can explain before Xfinity, like you can go like 5, 6 wide. They all like in that turn one, they all just like fan out and try to get position. But then once they get past that turn, it's just kind of locks in, and there's not a ton of movement. And especially with this new package, I don't know if there will be. So you really want to, it's usually turns into being a 2 or 3 dominator race. You usually have an early dominator and then somebody in the middle and then somebody in the end. So you want to look for people that are going to have good long run speed, people that are good with restarts, and people that had some decent speed in the practice in the long run and not just short term ones. So we'll get to the breakdown here. So Denny Hamlin has been good on short flat tracks. He has the pole here, and I think he's been very chalky, and I think he's definitely a prime play. I don't know if he has enough to win the race. I think these Toyotas are good with short run speed. I don't know that I think the Fords are the ones, just looking at all the data and everything, that might be better on the long runs. So, but I think that he can definitely get up there. I think that he's, even if he does get past, he's not going to fall too far down. I think he should be solid enough. I just don't know if he has enough to like sit there and dominate the whole race. So I definitely like him. Ty Gibbs, I thought about putting the fade on here, but there is a potential that he does get out there ahead of Hamlin if he gets a really good jump in the start of this race, or if like Hamlin misses a shift. There's so many things that could happen that could lead to this happening. And Ty Gibbs goes out there and is the early dom. So he's borderline fade, but I think he's a GPP play. So I gave him the UDOM tag. So it's somebody that could be an upside dominator. And if he does go out and dominate early and then falls back, I don't think he's going to fall out of the top 10. I think he's got a strong enough car to be able to not lose too much place differential, but he does have some upside to get some fast laps and potentially lead the race. I really do like Chase Elliott down here at third. He looked good with long run speed in the practice. Again, the Chevys have been kind of hit or misses if they've been good with that, and he seemed to during practice have things figured out and be good. Obviously, he's up here and qualified pretty well. And there is a shot that he becomes the second dominator, or if something happens, potentially can get around Hamlin and Gibbs and lead this race early. So I know he's had struggle last couple of years, but I think this is definitely, from what I've seen, I think this is a good get right spot for him. So I really like him here as a cash play and a potential dominator also. Eric Jones, I think, is a fade. I know he has a Toyota, and I know he qualified good. I just don't think he has the speed to maintain up here, and I just fear that he could fall out of the top 10 so easily that I just can't consider him. So he's going to be a fade. William Byron hated his car after practice, absolutely hated it, and wasn't necessarily a new package. I mean, that was part of it, I think, but he really didn't have too many kind words to say. But he was able to come back and qualify fifth here. So obviously they might have figured something out or been able to make the adjustments on it. But I just don't know if it's going to have the long run speed. So he's definitely an upside dominator. Um, but I don't know if he's going to be able to stay up here. 11K is pretty hefty price tag, and the other 11K guys that are just a little bit more have place differential upside and could potentially be dominators also. So I just think he's a GPP play that I will have in some lineups, but not making him a priority. Tyler Reddick, I think he looked okay in practice, but I'm just a little skeptical. 85, like the price tag. I like so many guys better than him. They had to give him the UDOM one here. I don't think he's a cash play. I think he's a solid GPP play. I think he's upside. I love the price point. And, does he have potential to win this race? Yes, but has he been too aggressive and lost it and gotten loose and had issues? Yes, too. So, I don't trust it. So I'm just going to give it the UDOM, but I think it's a solid play, but I think it's more of a solid GPP play than cash. Noah Gragson, he just drives fast in qualifying, but doesn't necessarily translate in the race. I think I see him dropping like a rock. And even though Stuart Haas cars have been decent and showed some speed, I think he's going to fall down. Chase Briscoe, I believe in maybe the first race in this new car, maybe in 22 that he won here in the spring. So he has done well at these tracks. So I give him a GPP just to maybe stay in contention. I don't see him getting out there and being a dominator when you have like Reddick and Byron and Elliott and potentially Gibbs and Hamlin and some other guys that could get up there and in the mix. So I got him a GPP play. I probably won't play a ton of him, but I do think people might look back at that's why I put the medium ownership tag in, because just remember that he has a win here, then that might change their mind on him. And he's always been a really good shifter, and shifters are good on like shorter tracks and stuff like that. We have to make adjustments. So, so he's intriguing, but not a priority either. McDowell and Hocevar, I think again, just like Gregson, like they did really well in qualifying here. Their practice numbers were nothing to write home about, so I think they're going to go down. So I have them as fades because I just don't think they stay in the top 10, and they're going to lose place differential points, and that's just never good in DFS. Martin Truex Jr. a couple of years ago would probably be in the dominator category here, but he's just got to be a GPP. I just think he's on the tail end of his career on the other side of the mountain, heading like just keeps declining. Don't tell my daughter that I'm saying this because it's her favorite driver. But nothing against him. I think he's still solid, but he just has been abysmal on restarts. And that's something that you really need your real big opportunity here to gain track position because it's hard to pass. So, and the Toyotas have good short run speed, but not great long run speeds. So I just I think he's in the mix. I think maybe I'll sprinkle him in, if I'm probably 5% if I'm doing anything, but I just really don't think I'll definitely be under the field on him. Ross Chastain, I think, has a lot of upside here. I think he has showed some speed, but he has showed a lot of concerns for me. So if he's going to be an upside dominator, but I will be playing some of him, definitely, but probably not in cash lineups. Christopher Bell, I know this is risky. It's probably the same. It's the same number of the car too, and this might bite me in the rear end, just like it did with John Hunter Nemechek, who started around the same range in the Xfinity race. But he got up there and he eventually was leading. But Christopher Bell, I believe, is the better driver. Christopher Bell won the practice session, I believe. If you looked at like all the people that were commenting on like X, formerly Twitter, and blogs and stuff about him, he had a phenomenal session. Looked like he had great long run speed. They figured something out. They really put things together. Now, Christopher Bell has some downfalls too. He is all last year, his pit crew like screwed him on pit lane and um or like long stops or like penalties or things like that. So there is some risk, but I do think that he could potentially be the second dominator. He could win this race, and I think he's got a really strong car. And I think that he's going to be able to move up over those four fades and probably a couple of GPPs and at least get maybe like 5 to 10 place differential points. Could he finish third? I think so. Could he leave some laps, have fast laps? Absolutely. Lots of positives here. And the floor's a little bit scary, but I think he's a solid prime play. So if you want to pivot off one of my primes, he would be the one. And there's other people that we'll talk about that you could put in the place of him, and I'll call them out as we go through them. But this is how I'm going to set up my lineup with them. With Hamlin at first, and I think Bell is his teammate is going to be a second main dominator, and then I'll just have to figure out who the third one is. Is it going to be Elliott at 88, or is it going to be some of the other guys that we're going to talk about? Okay, so Chris Buescher, he has been super solid on these tracks. He has been in the optimal lineup a couple times. Really good long run speed. Again, these Fords have kind of figured that out. Roush Fenway has been really good at figuring it out. Good practice data and everything. So I really think that he's a solid cash play. I don't see him being a dominator, but I do see him being one that can get some positive place differential, get up into the top 10, have a solid day, pay off his price tag, blue collar, you know, grab your lunchbox, go to work, punch in, do your job, go home, and be just a solid floor play there. Suarez, I think, is a GPP. Uh, Even though Chastain has seemed to figure out like this track and done really well, and Suarez not as much. I think people will still look like, well, he just won a race a couple races ago, but I just I want to see like consistency, not like a flash in the pan. So I'm not putting him as a fade. I think he could probably stay in the top 20, maybe stay in the top 15, but I don't feel there's a floor enough to play him in cash, and I don't see him as a dominator here. Ryan Blaney, I think, is expensive here, and he had good long run speed. This Penske really seems to have figured something out because he and Logano looked good in practice. So I think he's definitely an upside dominator here. And I think he'll be very highly owned. And he's one that you could probably switch out with Bell if you like Blaney better than him. It gives you a little bit more place differential and maybe like a better pit crew and everything. Kyle Larson, he didn't run well here in the um race for the championship last year in the fall, but all the other races here he's been very solid up in the top 5. So I definitely think that he can do that here. He didn't look too bad in practice. He had some pretty solid numbers there and had some long run speed. And I think he's definitely a candidate to be a dominator. So if you want to switch him out with Bell, I completely understand that too. I think he'll be popular, and I'll definitely be paying shares of him, rotating him in as one of my dominators. Brad Keselowski, I think also just the way Brad drives and his style and stuff, and he's just gone way too many races without a win. I'm not saying that he has the potential to win this one. I think that's definitely something that you'd look to maybe like Blaney or Larson or Bell or maybe even Hamlin to hang on for. But I think that you can definitely get up into the top, like if you eighth. So, I mean, there's 10 place differential points there, 8,200, maybe lead some laps, maybe get some fastest laps. We've seen them have some alternate pit strategies and stuff in some races. So I think that he's definitely one that I like as a dominator too, or just a plain cash play. Uh, John Hunter Nemechek. The reason he doesn't get the fade here is just because the Toyotas have had some decent speed, and this is a completely different ball game in Cup versus Xfinity. but I do still fear that he's a volatile driver, that he will zig when he should have zagged and make a mistake and take some people with him. Again, he's not Joe Graff Jr. He's not, entering that conversation as like worst driver in this series, but I think he still has I mean he was up in here and then he got sent back down and worked his way up through the truck series and through Xfinity, and I think he's done well. And I just think that sometimes he has bad luck and just sometimes it's just makes an aggressive, he's not like an overly aggressive driver, say like, like Chastain or like, you know, Stenhouse was a couple years ago. But I think he still needs to take more calculated risks, and like, calculated is a key word there, is like kind of think of just not act, but think of like, the if the action's worth it. But anyways, long story short, GPP for that. Stenhouse, same thing, GPP. The reason I don't really like Stenhouse here is like his speeds and everything looked okay. 20th is okay. I'd rather have him starting a little bit farther down to be a cash play, but I don't think he really is really good with tire wear tracks. So I don't know if he can like save his tires enough for me here. So I'm going to say that he's GPP here. Hemrick, he hit the wall in practice. He came out and did a little bit better in qualifying, but Colleague has just really struggled this year, and especially at this track. And I just don't see anything good happening here. So I got to jump off this one. Fade for me. Bubba Wallace, cash, I think he'll be very highly owned. I think people look at him as a decent place differential play. He has run well in short flat tracks in the past. So I think he's another. I don't see him. There's just being this far down, I don't see him getting up and being able to dominate unless like something happens with like a weird caution cycle or pit cycle or something. But I think that he definitely can get up into at least the top 15. 12, that's 10th place differential points at 77. That's decent right there. Joey Logano, like I said, he and his teammate Blaney seem to really have things figured out here. Uh, I think he's going to be very chalky and a solid cash play with the place differential. And if you can work him in your cash lineup, that's good. Um, I wouldn't say I'd replace Bell with him. I'd say that he's probably one that can go in as the third piece if you're doing like three ways of dominators. But you know, I I toyed with him as a prime play, maybe just with the place differential, but I really like Bell from like everything when I relooked at the data and stuff. Like Joey wasn't far behind, but far enough that I wanted to go with Bell. But if you think that Joey's the guy, then he's definitely one that you can switch out with the prime play of Bell also. Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton's improving. I got to admit it. I can't, say we need to fade Harrison Burton. And when I look through the 5K range, if you're trying to play stars and scrubs and trying to get like Blaney, Byron, and Hamlin, or like getting like three guys in the over 10K range in the same lineup, you're going to need to play probably a 5K guy. And out of all of them, I think Harrison Burton is the best. So I almost gave him the cash tag. I know. Um, I can hear all of you falling out of your chairs right now as you watch this. But I don't think we're quite there yet. So GPP is improving, is heading in the right direction. So hopefully that will continue. I think you can stay in the top 25 with, there are some cars that behind him that will definitely get in front of him, but there's also some cars in front of him that could end up behind him. So I think if he finishes where he starts, 5,400, that's great. I'll take it. Alex Bowman, I got a GPP here. Like, and people will probably gravitate to him and really like the place differential play, but and he used to be like the blue collar guy that I was like talking about, like would with Busher, but I just haven't seen it recently. So I got him as GPP, even though like this should potentially be a smash place differential point. I'd rather pay $200 more for Bubba Wallace. I'd rather just drop down to Ryan Preece and save $600 for like about the same place differential. I and Stuart Haas has been decent, and the Fords have had some long run speed. So not necessarily that Priest is the best driver, a better driver compared to Bowman, but just in current form and all things considered, I think that Bowman's a GPP play and that Priest is a cash play. You have Derek Cross. I don't know why Collie pulled him. Like they couldn't find anybody else for this race. I mean, he was there and did race in Xfinity, but he's just no interest. It's just fade. He could finish dead last in this one, so I'm not even touching that. Steve Smith, Todd Gilliland. Neither one of them super impressed me here at all. Neither one, I mean, both of them were decent in Truck Series, I think, in these at Phoenix, but haven't really seen anything in this car recently. So GPP, Austin Dillon, you would think that at 6,800, like, I mean, he might be falling below Harrison Burton here, and this is getting scary. Like Austin Dillon used to be up in like the 9K range, and both Childress cars looked horrible in practice. Like they can't figure anything out here. And usually when they look that bad, like they don't get it fixed. And like all of a sudden, and this being hard to pass, and some of the other cars down here that could, in this new downforce package, get loose easily, pushing it too much with inexperience in the car and take them out. I just can't do it. So Austin Dillon's GPP for me, and I think Kyle Busch is going to be super chalky because people are going to look at it and be like, "Oh, Kyle Busch, if he had 50 minutes of practice, you used to say before like the COVID days, when Kyle Busch has practice, play Kyle Busch because Kyle Busch can do amazing things when he has time to adjust the car." First of all, that was with Gibbs, and second of all, they've had the time and stuff, and I really didn't see anything that would really make me think that this car that he has the potential. And at 92, like, okay, if he does get up there in the top 10, then he smashes. And this is to me why he'll be the first one in my tournament plays, but I can't play him in cash. And the reason I can't play him in cash is because you got a couple guys right below him. They're in the 6K range that could do the same thing. And you're saving $3,000. And if I want to try to get up to some of these really, really good Dominator or UDOM plays in my lineup, I can't afford the 9,200. So I'm not playing Kyle Busch in cash. First guy in my GPP lineup, hands down. Cash, no. Cascarella, no. GPP, just because of the play, but the Rick Ware cars are horrible. I think Haley's in the better car. And like I said, Harrison Burton's the best one in the 5K range, but I think if you want somebody with floor for cash, Haley can only lose 3 spots. So he would end up getting 4 points because it's on a 40-point scale. So he'd end up with a net 1 if he finished dead last. I don't think he's going to finish dead last. I think there's some other cars through attrition that will finish. So I think that he can at least finish 33rd, which would give him 5, 6, 7 to 10 points. And sometimes you need a punt, and there have been a lot of optimal lineups that have had a punt that has only scored like 15 or 17 points, so you don't need that much to make it work. And so that's why Haley gets the cash. Cindric and LaJoy are absolutely smash cash plays down here also. They both just kind of screwed up and got loose in their qualifying laps, and that's what caused them to be down here. Cindric is in the Penske camp where they've obviously figured something out with the other 2 drivers and should have some long run speed. Corey LaJoy, I don't know if he is, but like he could beat the Rick Ware cars. If the Childress cars continue to struggle, you could probably get past them. He could probably even get past like Smith, Kraus, and Gillian. So, I mean, there's 10 place differential points right there if you talk it out. And at 6,300, that's great. Josh Berry again screwed up. I think he hit the apron or whatever in qualifying. Let's do our Haas's looked good here. The Fords have figured out some long run speed. He is not a 36th place car, and he could potentially, if he gets up to like 16th, 20 place differential points to 72, could absolutely smash. So that's why I was prime play. So Hamlin, hands down, has to be a lock as the prime play. The second one I said is Bow, but if you'd prefer to go Blaney or Larson, or even drop down to Logano, or I'm fine with that. Or if you want to move up to like Elliott or Byron as like the second prime play, which Elliott like in the 8K range, and Busher and Klesowski, I think you can get like them in like a 3 dom build even with Bell. But if you want to pivot off, that's fine. So Hamlin, whoever you want that second dime to be, I'm staking my claim on Bell and hoping he doesn't NEMA check me. But there's other good options. And then Barry. But if you want to try to get in that 8K guy and build a better balanced lineup, then I have no problem moving the prime play on the bottom over to Cindric or LaJoy. So any of those three on the bottom can be your value, like mid-tier prime play with Hamlin, and then Bell or whoever else you want to flex in there. And that should give you plenty of salary to build some decent lineups. And like I said, avoid Kyle Busch, put him as your first one in your GPP lineup, and then build, with like some of the upside DOMs there. Like, if you want to go Busch and like Reddick and Chastain, I think that's like a really good build there. So that's what I got for you. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. As always, if I helped you, then help me back by liking, subscribing to our channel, and sharing with friends. If you want more information on FSIDFS, it is in the description of the video. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat below or hit me up at MegaRuler31 on Twitter or X. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.